turn it over to Latoya. Take it away.
Thank you, Dave, and good morning, everyone. Excuse me. I want to take this opportunity to provide an update on our disaster relief operations that are happening in the Southeast and how the Michigan region is supporting those operations. As you know, it's been more than a week since Hurricane Helene came barreling down on Florida. And as the American Red Cross, we've been working around the clock to mobilize volunteers to get those materials resourced and be able to support those communities. This, of course, is coming as we have Hurricane Milton, who is currently a strong Category 4, also barreling down on those same western counties in Florida. They are expecting up to a foot of rain and also 15-foot storm surges, which of course is not what these counties need, as they have already been impacted. There has been a state of emergency that has been declared for 51 counties in that area. So again, we are racing against the clock just to ensure that we have our volunteers ready, that we have those shelters staffed, and those relief supplies ready to go. We also have a fleet of vehicles and warehouse full of supplies across the country that are also ready to support after impact. We currently have 66 Michigan volunteers who are already deployed down in the Southeast. And we want to take the time now to make sure that we can hear from one of those volunteers. As disaster would have it, he is loading up supplies and trying to get fleet out. So we want to talk right now to Mr. Harold West. Harold, are you ready to talk?
Yes, ma'am, I am. Can you hear me okay? Wait a minute.
You're good, Harold.
Okay. I am ready.
Go ahead.
Can you tell us a little bit about your volunteer experience as you're responding to Hurricanes Helene and Milton?
Well, we've been very active in providing food for those that are in need and have been impacted by the hurricane. We go to those locations where we can best serve those that have been impacted. I am right now manning what's called a ERV, an emergency response vehicle, where we provide food to the communities that, as I said, have been impacted. I started in Tallahassee, but now I've moved down to Tampa, and my mission has changed considerably to organizing what's called ERVs and MERVs, to where we're loading up supplies, and we're doing a pre-setup so that after Milton hits, that we're going to be right out there in the community, ready to go.
Harold, can you talk about some of the folks that you've serviced in your time down in Florida so far?
Well, I can tell you that they're very gracious and very thankful. We had to do a grocery store run so that all of our volunteers were ready to go and ready to have just some critical needs stuff when we're sheltering. And you can't walk down an aisle without somebody thanking you and thanking us for being here. Very, very appreciative here in Florida, and not uncommon at all to get a hug or a handshake.
What has this experience been like for you compared to other deployments you've been on?
This has been real devastating for Florida. The devastation has just been unbelievable. And the support that we're giving them it really touches. We know that they really do need us. And it makes you feel good to be able to help.
How long have you been a Red Cross volunteer, Harold?
I've been with the Red Cross 7 years. I have done over 6 deployments, one of them being for 6 months with service to the armed forces, where I was deployed overseas to Romania. where I was embedded with the service members there, providing welfare, recreation for the service and critical communication messaging.
And how do you feel you're making a difference in your time down in Florida?
We're helping. We're helping. People know that Red Cross, and they know we're there to help. And it's just a good feeling.
So in the days ahead, Harold, what's going to be your main focus?
Well, my main focus in the days ahead, I'm one of the supervisors for our ERV and MERV vehicles, providing supplies and providing hot meals. So we're going to focus on getting to those most impacted areas that we can get into and make sure that we can have food for the people that need it there in those areas. If this storm is going to be what they're predicting, there are going to be some people that really need the services that we're going to provide. We will be there. We're staging in areas now all over the state where we'll have vehicles, and we're ready to, as soon as we get to go, we're going to be out, we're going to be ready, and we're going to be doing our mission.
Do you have a sense of how many Red Cross disaster vehicles are in your area?
Oh, well, just with my crew, I have probably about 9 emergency vehicle response MERVs or ERV vehicles, feeding vehicles. So I have about nine of those, and I have 2 MERVs, which bring product and water, MREs, snacks, anything like that, that will be able to replenish what we need. So we got a pretty good crew here from all over the country.
One last thing before you go, Harold. Anything else you'd like to add?
If the people from Michigan are seeing this, the Red Cross really needs your help and really needs your support. This is a good thing. This type of tragedy can affect anywhere in the country. And we're all here together and doing it together, working as one. That's what we do as American citizens.
Harold, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you joining us today, and stay safe.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right. Latoya, I'll turn it back over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Harold. We're so appreciative and thankful for all of the Michigan volunteers who have signed up to deploy to the Southeast and to support those in Florida. As you heard, we do have emergency response vehicles that have been deployed to Florida. We have 5 here from the Michigan region who drove down to support. Now, Helene left a pretty wide path of destruction, so it is a bit hard to navigate through certain neighborhoods and on those streets, but rest assured that when it is safe, the volunteers are truly on their way. So as we heard, Harold has quite a crew, and they're just a part of more than 2,000 volunteers that we have to support those families who have been impacting, and we're reaching more and more every day. We are doing all that we can to help, which does require a huge lift from the American Red Cross. We do also have volunteers who are specifically tasked with making sure that our partners and our elected officials are informed about what it is that we're doing, communities that still need support, and more things that are to come. With the help of our partners, we've already provided more than 32,000 shelter stays and nearly 400,000 meals and snacks across these impacted areas. Unfortunately, hundreds of people are still missing, and damaged infrastructure is indeed making it difficult for folks to communicate with loved ones. If you're having trouble locating or connecting with a loved one, the Red Cross may be able to help. Please make sure that you are visiting redcross.org, call 1-800-Red Cross, And please, if you have not done so, make sure that you download the American Red Cross emergency app. This is also where you're able to support those who are evacuating, locate those evacuation shelters. Excuse me, a couple of final points before we get to the rest of our volunteers. One, we know that people are generous and want to do everything that they can to help during a disaster. Our priority is to provide shelter and to support those who are affected. Financial donations are the quickest way and the best way to help those who are most in need. You can do so by again visiting redcross.org. An average of 90 cents of every dollar is invested in providing care and comfort for those in need. Your gift is a commitment to helping people in need, and every single donation matters. Secondly, the American Red Cross is working to restock critically needed blood products after the cancellation of many blood drives across the Southeast. This has caused more than 2,500 blood donations to go uncollected. We are encouraging the people of Michigan and others outside of the affected areas to make an appointment today at redcrossblood.org. And third, Helene is the latest example of how extreme our climate is becoming. There are more frequent storms, they're more intense, they're coming more often. In this case, meteorologists have said that Helene's intense and far-reaching rainfall, which extended hundreds of miles from the coast, can be attributed to the climate crisis. As the climate crisis continues to worsen, it will become increasingly common for the American Red Cross to respond to these disasters. And with that, I would like for you to hear more from our disaster responders. Our next volunteer is Stacy Ripley, who is helping reunite families who are separated by Helene. Stacy?
Now, sorry about that. Little technical snafu. Hoping everyone can hear me. Thank you, Toy, for such welcoming remarks. As Toy said, I am here under what we call reunification. So the examples would be if you couldn't get a hold of a loved one because of infrastructure problems, especially initially after storms hit, power is out. If it's landline, even cell signals are hard to come by. It can be very, very difficult to get a hold of a loved one, and which can really take a toll on a family or any loved one that they may be searching for. So we at the Red Cross utilize all of our resources to looking in our areas of what we do and thinking outside of the box to reunite families and get them back in communication, which is such a relief for some of these families to be able to know that their loved ones are safe. I had I've had several, but two very recent families I was able to reunite that were the longer it goes, it's just like in any case when you're searching, the longer it goes, the more difficult it becomes to locate or find. They may have lost a cell phone, if it's a cell phone, or difficulty in finding where they may have evacuated to, etc. But I was able to reunite two families with their loved ones who were incredibly grateful. And I know there was one daughter actually from Michigan is very happy to be able to be reunited with family that she'd been searching for. It's a pleasure. It's an honor, honestly, to be able to be welcomed into the family's stories, to be able to be tasked with helping them locate their loved ones. Isn't it's no short feat for someone to, you know, and it doesn't go unrecognized how you know, like I said, what an honor it is to allow them or have them allow me to be able to search for their loved ones and trust me with that.
Stacy, talk about how long you've been a volunteer with the Red Cross.
I've been a volunteer with the Red Cross for this, I believe this is my 8th year. I really, really enjoy getting out into the you know, our communities in Michigan that are hurting, as well as anywhere out nationally that we have. I've been on, I believe this is my 33rd or 34th deployment within that time frame. It is as a volunteer, you know, it is, like I said, it's an honor, and I always say, like, it feeds my soul to be able to help families. While I have the ability physically to be able to be mobile around in the dangerous areas that you know, that a disaster area is. It's so wonderful when you can help someone and to see, and sometimes it's just letting them tell you their story. It can be as simple as that, or it can be as complex as helping them, you know, navigate around getting into the beginnings of the recovery process.
I would imagine each deployment is different from the previous one, right? Can you give a little context to those deployments you've been on, including the one right now?
Every deployment exactly is different. It has its own complex issues to get around. It has its own you know, communication. It's different sets of people, even you get them together, and it's communicating in different manners, different areas. You know, the environment is different, you know, just in general. So trying to navigate your way around a different environment based on, you know, it could be more dangerous in certain areas, as far as like trees being able to come down if the ground is more moist, or things like that. I know that may sound just simple, you know, something simple or something that's maybe not as important, but when we're out, you know, navigating our way around in these areas, it can be quite important. Every disaster, like I said, has its own complexities, but the biggest thing is these people in the South have been hit time. I believe it's been what, 4 or 5 larger storms right in a row. So it's barely getting a chance to stand up before they're getting hit again and again and again. And while they may be somewhat used to it just due to the nature of where they live, you know, they really, really need our help, and they need the help that all of the American Red Cross can provide. And all of those that support the American Red Cross. Yeah, on the blood services side, is, you know, I'm a nurse by trade, so definitely that's the first thing that some think about when they hear the American Red Cross. And on the it's disaster cycle services is how we refer to our area. Definitely, it all combines together, but we're vitally needed out here, and it's when you see it, and when you just see one smile, and in a time when it could be one of their worst days that they've ever had, and to be able to get a smile or a hug, or just the relief of having someone there to maybe help guide them, and, you know, or just be there, that's what I can say is similar on every single, be it everyone is technically different. The end is the same. We're here to help, and it's that relief is the same on every disaster response I've been on.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I just add that, like I said, sometimes it's just a story that they need, that they, so I, some don't feel that, oh, because I didn't have a tree go through my house, that maybe I'm not, I don't deserve assistance as much as my neighbor who, did lose their entire home. And I always say, everyone's story is important, everyone's story, and everyone's story deserves to be heard. No matter their situation, they've all gone through this. It's still traumatic, regardless of the damage they may or may not have had. It's a traumatic event to go through. And just to have someone to be able to talk to about that, gives them just that sense of having someone there, and knowing that that's that support, that's that someone they can lean on when maybe they're having trouble, getting through it.
Okay, Stacy, thanks very much. Toy, I'll
Thank
turn
you.
it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Stacy. We appreciate that. Our next and final volunteer is Miss Becky Gaskin. And Becky is the Executive Director in the East Central Bay chapter of the American Red Cross here in Flint, Michigan. And this is Becky's first deployment. Becky?
Good morning, and wow, my first deployment, level 7, and stationed in the Carolinas. It's been an incredible learning experience, but something that literally changes the heart and soul of a Red Crosser, whether you're a volunteer or staff. From the minute I hit the ground, I got in the airport, and there, you get a text like, go to, the car, to find out who you're carpooling with to get to headquarters in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was literally like having a family reunion, but everyone was strangers. There were so many red vests and red shirts, and everyone was hugging and saying, hello, how are you? Where are you from? And everyone from, across the country, even as far as I had 3 new friends, Red Crossers from Puerto Rico, coming in on the same time to answer the call, to be there for the folks in Asheville, North Carolina, and the folks in South Carolina. We are at the level 7 disaster response. That's the size of the response in the Carolinas. And we have 2 zones. We have North Carolina and South Carolina. And I went to Charlotte, was there for one night. The next morning they said, we're in desperate need of an elected official liaison down in Greenville, South Carolina. So then I was on the road and got a car, rental car, to travel to South Carolina, which happened to be the birth city of my father, and who's been passed for quite a few years. So to be back in the heartbeat of where my dad was born and where he walked the streets was just like this full circle silver lining moment. And I've been able to connect with family who had damage, but not severe damage. They're all okay. And since their power has been restored, and I've been able to go there and get some hot showers and reunite with family while I'm responding to the disaster, it's been incredible, the partnerships in the community, how we come together to leverage the support of not only the Red Cross, but all the community partners. And so one of my jobs is really contacting those elected officials and finding out where are the pockets of the community that's most vulnerable that we might be missing. And that's what we've been doing the last several days. It's all about sheltering and feeding. One of the most moving days for me was, I'll try not to cry, but I got a hold of a councilman, and he said, we have a neighborhood with 800 to 1,000 kids that rely on the school district for feeding. And they are still without power. We know they're without food, and we don't know if they've eaten in a week. And we knew we had ERVs out. Those are emergency response vehicles feeding neighborhoods. I went right to headquarters, said, do we have anyone out en route this close to this? And we had an ERV with extra meals. And I called the councilman back and I said, we are rerouting an ERV to get to that neighborhood. And we have 200 meals. We know it's not quite enough for today, but you're going to be on the route every single day from here on out. And that councilman, he almost started crying. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I see your van." He goes, "Be prepared because the kids are so hungry that they were swarming the van. They couldn't wait to get the food." And then it was just the best day. And he's then forwarded me pictures. He goes, "You help feed my kids in my neighborhood." And that's what we're doing. We're finding out where are the pockets of people who really need us, who are most vulnerable. And we're still without power in South Carolina. So we're still answering the call. We have lots of routes, we're lots of feeding, and we're not going to leave the area. We have the disaster coming in Florida. We're going to support there, but we have all hands on deck here in the Carolinas supporting the efforts here too. And it's been an incredible honor to stand side by side with all these Red Crossers.
Becky, as in your first deployment, is it what you may have expected?
Absolutely not. No, don't know what to expect. I overpacked. You don't know what to expect. But you get here and everyone just, kind of holds your hand and brings you alongside them and you walk through it and you just kind of jump in where you're needed. And you're just really like every day you're asking, how can I help? Where's the need? Where do you need me? And if you ask those questions, everyone's they're going to put you right in line to something and every single day has been a little different. I've been all over to so many counties. I've driven to so many counties and met so many amazing people who are consistently showing kindness. We have shelters dedicated to folks who are dependent on oxygen. And literally every outlet, high schools were turned into oxygen shelters, churches, meeting with pastors who are feeding the neighborhoods. I've seen so much of the countryside and meeting those partners and shelters and the needs. It's been incredible. So it's been superseding any expectation, that you have because you're helping someone every single day.
Okay, Becky, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Now we'll open it up to question and answers from our reporters on the call here. If you guys could sort of raise your hand, and if you have somebody you want to direct your question to, please do. Anybody? Jacob. Go ahead, Jacob.
Was wondering if anyone could give us a firsthand account of what they're actually seeing on the ground down there. Like
Stacy, you want to go first and then Becky?
Sorry
Stacey?
about that.
Okay.
Yeah, what we're seeing on the ground is there's areas that have a lot of I know that have a lot of sand that has from the storm surge that has built up that think of in Michigan when you have whiteout conditions and the snow and covers the road and you can't see the lanes. All of a sudden there's a road there. There was a road there, and when the storm surge has passed through, there is no road. It's all sand. I know there have been areas where homes, they were stilted homes, and they no longer are stilted homes. You walk out and the ground is level to their door, just about level to their door. A lot of tree damage here, because there's a lot of big, beautiful old trees around the areas that I've been in, which also leads them to be very dangerous when they come down. So we have had a lot of tree damage that comes down from those straight line winds that have damaged and destroyed homes in areas. And I know that we've seen a lot of flood damage just from the water line levels being as high as when I think about it, I'm short, but but mighty. But I think I remember seeing some water lines that were close to between my knee and my hip, and just thinking of what that must have been like during the actual storm. I know there were water rescues here as well. I just know that we said, Helene was angry when she came in. And Becky, I'm certain that you have something interesting things that you've seen on the ground.
Yes, thank you. It's, in South Carolina, the devastation has been very widespread. So, you'll be driving around and you'll see a tree, planted in the middle of someone's home and it's completely destroyed. And then the next home next to them, I couldn't believe it. There was 3 huge trees completely down and the house, it's missed the house. And I can't imagine what those residents woke up to, so amazed that their house was still standing. And then some roads are completely uncrossable because the trees are down. They are getting more, National Guard has been working around the clock to open the streets in South Carolina. And again, I'm not seeing the worst of the devastation in North Carolina. But here in South Carolina, you're seeing, like I went to meet with the fire department and the National Guard. They were having a meeting with community partners and I couldn't cross. And then a police officer showed me the way through the mountains to get to the fire department. And I was dodging trees and, like really white knuckled on the steering wheel because the road had went to one lane because the road was just dropped off the mountain. It went down to one lane because the ground had just came out from under it. And, you're getting used to like always watching for that spare tree, and trees are still falling. So we're still hearing accounts of injuries and houses that are being damaged because the trees are unstable and very widespread. Like I said, one neighborhood can look fine and the next you can't get down the street. And it's just cables everywhere. And they're wrapped around the tree trunks where they're not just replugging and connecting to electricity. They have to rebuild it because it's completely gone, the network. And they've been unbelievable as far as getting that power restored. For a long time, you were hearing accounts where, the power is getting restored, but grocery stores are depleted because all the food went bad. And so, but the grocery stores are getting more food. The roads are opening. Schools in Greenville are opening tomorrow, which is wonderful because that shows that, again, more power is coming. The roads are getting more cleared up. But you're still seeing lots of trucks out and clearing the roads and getting that power restored.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Stacy. Any other questions? Please kind of jump right in. Going once, going twice. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I want to give a special shout out to Becky, Stacy, and Latoya for sharing their remarks this morning on our response to Hurricane Helene and with Hurricane Milton, bearing down on Florida. Thanks to everybody from news media for joining, and everybody have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. Think about those that are still down here as Milton approaches.
Stay safe.
Recording stopped.